Alright, dude, so the plan today initially was to live stream. I was gonna hit you guys with a surprise live stream for State of Play, but my internet, as usual, is always fucking me. Every time I'm trying to do something with this channel, try to progress the channel, get to the next stage, I get fucked all the time. So for whatever reason, like my internet's really good. We talked about this like a couple weeks ago, but when I try to like get the laptop going, get the PC going, try to get some live streaming, the internet speed is just like bad. Like every other device in this house, it shows that my internet's really, really good. It's like 200 megabyte download. The upload's not the greatest, but it's enough to live stream. But on this particular computer that I make content with, it's just like shit. Like instead of like the 200 megabyte download, it's like less than 20, and I don't know what the problem is. It might be like a positioning in the house situation, because like right here I'm kind of like tucked away in this corner, and the new internet we got like is the router's like in the living room and shit. But again, it doesn't affect these other devices. It's just this laptop and shit. So I don't know. I don't know what the problem is. I don't know if it's something I can resolve or fix at all. So I guess instead we're just gonna do like we usually do. We're just gonna like discuss this like state of play and like break it down and stuff like that. It isn't started yet. It's still like 4 minutes exactly as I'm recording. It's about to start here pretty quickly, and I'll watch it off the camera obviously, and then we'll come back and like break it down, discuss it, talk about it. Hopefully we're looking for the RPG element stuff, and we'll talk more about this like live streaming situation towards the end of the video too. I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. That was kind of underwhelming. Um, there's certainly things to talk about and discuss from this. Like we got to see like the hunt board, which is kind of cool. I like the Final Fantasy games that have the hunt board, like Final Fantasy 12 and 15. They're something to do besides just the story, right? They're still just fighting, but it's still something else to do. Um, and maybe there's more like little story elements here and there we can break down from this like state of play. I know you get to control Joshua at one point. That was kind of a cool reveal, I suppose. We got to see a little more of the hideaway, but it was just mostly combat stuff again. We got a little more of like the skill tree stuff, I guess. They showed that off a little bit. But still, man, this was like, was that the RPG elements? Is that the big reveal that were promised for April? Is there something else happening? I guess we're still, not even halfway through the month. There could be something else, but like is that all the game's about? Is it just fighting? Is that all we're doing? Is there nothing else? Like, I don't know. I don't want to like dunk on it too hard because there might still be something else that they're going to show at some point. But like, man, like, I mean, I don't know. I know it's a video game. It's an RPG video game, so you're going to do a lot of fighting, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not complaining about that. It's just like, they have nothing else to show off? Is there nothing else? I don't know. Whatever. So the actual footage for 16 opens up with a familiar scene, which is what we've seen, the very first thing we've ever seen for 16 from the Awakening trailer, where they're talking about going after Shiva's dominant and only the dominant. So again, this is something we've seen before, but we do get to see just a little bit past this. I'm obviously not the best with like character names when it comes to 16. I don't know if we know this guy's name or not, but it transitions into what's going to look like gameplay, and the guy refers to Clive as Wyvern. I'm not really like sure what that's about.
I said focus, Wyvern!
We then get a look at Sedalphus and a little bit of the hideaway and some general gameplay, but we'll get more of the hideaway stuff a little bit later. I'm not sure if there's anything necessarily new from this gameplay, because we've seen like this jungle setting before. We've seen this kind of swampy area, because it's where Clive was fighting like the Marlboro in like the very first trailer we got. The first thing I really took notice of from this like live stream though was around about a minute 50 we get gameplay of Joshua, which we're clearly controlling Joshua in these moments, which I don't know if we've ever been told that or known that we're ever going to control Joshua, so that was kind of a big reveal. We're also told later on that there will be like a flashback to like the teen years of Clive, where that's where we get kind of the backstory of why he's going out for this revenge and stuff like that. So this will probably be around the time that we're controlling Joshua, I would think. The next minute or so is just like icons fighting, or the fights with like icons and dominance and things like that. Stuff we've already seen before. It might be like newer scenes from these segments and shit, but still it's stuff we already know. So I think we're just going to skip around and talk about the things that I think are worth talking about instead of just kind of going beat by beat with this event. And then, like, for the most part, we're kind of going to have to skip, like, a lot of it, because, like, half or so of this event, if not more, is just stuff that we've kind of already seen, right? So it's not really worth talking about repeating, because we've discussed this in other videos. So this next bit, we kind of hear about the main character, Clive Rossfield, and we get confirmation that the game will start in Clive's 20s, but there will be a fully playable flashback of his teen years, and as I mentioned earlier, it'll kind of show us what led up to the events of the actual game, present day. It's such an interesting concept that I don't think we've seen in another Final Fantasy. I'm not entirely sure, just because we're going to be starting like present day, I assume, in Clive's 20s, and then it's going to flash back to his teens, then they would flash forward back to present day. We'd probably do some more 20s stuff, and then eventually there's going to be another time skip to his 30s. And it's just kind of an interesting idea. At about 5.5 minutes, we get like segments of Clive just kind of walking around the world, and as we talked about a bunch on this channel, like obviously the environments look great. This game is beautiful. You do get certain segments that really show off like the scale and like size of some of these environments. The first area they show is a good example of this. Like, you can tell just by looking around that this is like a very big area. It's actually called Martha's Rest, based on the gameplay that they gave us, because we see Clive like fast travel to this. There's one segment where Clive's in a cave and he's clearly like crouch walking. I don't know if it's like a force segment, if there's like stealth aspects to this game or not, and that might have been something we talked about before, and I just don't remember, but I felt like mentioning it. We then also get a bit more gameplay of Clive riding a chocobo, and this area that they're in is another great example of how vast some of these locations can be. We also get confirmation that we will be fighting the Fallen at different points within the game, and that's to be expected to some degree, right? You announce the Fallen, which is like this ancient civilization. It was like, I think, technologically advanced, but like went away, but you don't announce that unless there's going to be some aspect of the Fallen in the game. But it is kind of cool to confirm that. The next like minute or two are just combat stuff, and there's probably things to break down from this. Maybe some new attacks or abilities we've not seen yet. Maybe some new enemy types we've not seen yet. But ultimately, it is just fighting. I want to move past the fighting and the combat of 16 and look at other things. Next, we move into like the skill trees and stuff of the game, which is obviously exciting because there's a lot to break down and discuss here. So the first few abilities that were shown are from the Ifrit skill tree, as we'll call it. And the first one they're actually shown is Will of the Wicks, which it says summon a storm of fireballs that circle about Clive, damaging nearby targets while also absorbing damage. You hold down X to learn. It costs 100 ability points. What I'm not entirely sure of is what the like sword icon with the stars next to it and like the swirly stars with stars next to it exactly means. Like, I think it'd be fair to assume that like the sword icon would be an estimate of like damage or so, like how effective it is at doing damage to the enemy. And then I was thinking that maybe like the swirly star is like how effective like the secondary effect of the ability is. But we do see later on like a different ability that doesn't really have a secondary effect also has like the swirly star stuff. So again, I don't know exactly what it means. And from here you can see that once you learn the ability, you can hold down X to improve it if it can be improved. In this case, it costs 600 ability points. Or you can hold down square to reset the ability, which would give you your ability points back, obviously. Next, we're showing the taunt ability, which is a pretty basic ability. You hold R2 plus the touchpad to draw the enemy's attention to Clive. It costs 40 points to learn. And as you can see, though, there's no stars where like the sword icon is, or like the swirly stars, which makes a lot of sense because it's not a damaging ability. So I think that's kind of confirmation for that. But I am kind of confused why there's not a swirly star thing. But you can also see that whenever you actually learn the ability, that you can't improve it. It's instantly mastered. So there's only one tier to this. The next ability we're shown is Burning Blade, which is hold square to imbue Clive's blade with fire, release to unleash a powerful attack. Costs 25 to learn. You can see that it has a half a star for each thing, and this is the ability I was talking about where there's not like a secondary effect. It's not like the first one where it's doing damage to enemies around you, but also absorbing damage. So it's like the secondary effect. Whereas this seems to be only a purely offensive ability. So again, I like some confirmation on exactly what that other icon means. You can see here too that once you acquire Burning Blade, that you can level it up one more time. The next level would master it for 180. So it's kind of interesting that like not every like ability has like the same amount of progression, right? You don't. Some abilities you instantly master, some abilities you can level up probably multiple times, and some abilities you just level up once. We're also told right around the part where they're showing off the Burning Blade ability that the ability points are acquired by defeating enemies. Like, you don't get it by leveling up or whatever. That's kind of nice. So it's not like a grind like other games where you have to like level up and get a skill point. In this case, you can just farm enemies and get ability points, which explains why there's so much ability points and why things cost so much. The next ability that we're shown is under the Rama skill tree. It's called Pile Drive. And it says, drive Rama's staff into the ground, electrifying all enemies within a radius of the strike. And as you can see, we actually already have this ability learned and that we can improve it. But what is interesting is that the stars do not change whenever we upgrade this ability right here. So what I'm starting to think now is that maybe the star thing is like a kind of like a rating, right? Of how like good the ability is potentially. Because if it was a testament of how much more damage it does or how effective it is as an ability, like it would change whenever you upgrade it, but it doesn't here. The next ability we see is Blind Justice, which says launch a barrage of ball lightning at one or more enemies. Targets are determined by locking onto them before executing the ability. Ball lightning will affix itself to a target and can be caused to discharge, dealing additional damage if the target is attacked. We then get seen ability under the Garuda skill tree, which is Aerial Blast, that says summon a tornado that slowly hunts down nearby enemies and upon ensnaring them, inflicts multiple hits. They then show off how it's possible to just auto-unlock abilities if you want to, let the game decide, which is kind of a cool feature, but at the same time, I don't know why you do that. Like, why would you want to unlock a bunch of random ass abilities that you may or may not use? That seems weird. Like, if you're unsure of what to unlock or upgrade, just save your points. Around the 13-minute mark or so, we get some more like hideaway segment stuff. But as you can see, Jill's on the back of this like big ass dude. Like, there's like a chair strapped to his back, and I'm assuming she's like injured or something. That seems like some level of like kind of a spoiler, because that means that sometime prior to getting to the hideaway and meeting the character of Sid, Jill's gonna be hurt or whatever. Just seemed a little odd to show us that. We actually get to see the Arete Stone used and then step into the Hall of Virtue, which is like the training mode, but it's actually interesting because they pull up the menus and you can like kind of tweak like every aspect of the training mode in terms of like invincibility, unlimited break, whether or not Torgal's there, among many other things, but also what you're actually fighting against. We then get like a really brief look at what's supposed to be arcade mode, where you try to get like the highest score and you can like compete against other players around the world and stuff, which is still a pretty cool feature in my opinion. We then get to actually look at Clive like accepting a side quest, but also we learn when they go through the menus that you can actually fast travel directly to like the target for side quests or whatever the case, or whoever's offering a side quest. This is obviously a great feature because it'll save a lot of time. It's a little bit weird just because most games you'd have to like fast travel to like the town nearby or the location nearby and at least like have to walk to them. But this just allows you to teleport like straight to them, which is obviously a good thing. Around about the 15:30 mark, we get a look at like Otto's counter and the Patron's Whisper, which I think is all tied to the hunt board. Now the Patron's Whisper seems to be a place where you can accept like rewards for doing hunts, because you can see in the top of the screen that you get renown, I'm assuming, for doing hunts, and then there's like milestone rewards for just getting more and more renown, which is pretty cool. We then do get a look at the hunt board, and as you can see, by completing one of these hunts, you are rewarded with renown, and also some money. Maybe there's other stuff too, but I don't know. As I said previously, this is pretty exciting for me. Maybe this was like the biggest reveal for me personally from this event, just because I really like the hunting aspect. I don't know. I'm a big fan of Final Fantasy XII. I'm currently playing through 12 Zodiac Age right now, and 15 also offered like a hunt board and stuff like that, or you were able to hunt down marks and things in that game. But yeah, I'm a big fan of this, even if it is just fighting. It's just, again, something to do besides playing the story. I keep saying reveal when we talk about stuff from this event. Like we might have already heard about this. I feel like we might have talked about there being hunts before, so it might not be like a world reveal type thing, but still exciting. We did learn about the character Hippocrates, which is like a lore master. We learned about him from PAX East as well a little bit, but you can like tell him about your adventures and like it progresses some shit, but they don't really explain if there's anything to this other than just doing it. Like, is it just like a thing to do on the side for fun? I don't know if there's any rewards from it or whatever. It might just be something for completion's sake. We then learned about the character Vivian Ninetales, who you kind of talk to her for lore essentially, even though the other guy was like the lore master, but she tells you about like all the different relationships between like characters and things in the world. We then get some more like combat gameplay for a while, which there's probably some new enemies here and there. Like Fafnir looks pretty cool. That's a common name throughout the Final Fantasy franchise. But there's one particular moment that I just had to comment on because I thought it was kind of funny. So during this scene right here, like Clive's fighting Midnight Raven, and like when it gets down on the ground, there's like a QTE segment where this dude's trying to like stab Clive. This would kill Clive in this moment probably in a realistic scenario. And like you fight it, you get up. Whenever you stand up, like standing around Clive is Sid and Torgal, and all I can think of in that moment is like, why wouldn't they intervene? And this was like a realistic scenario, right? I know it's a video game. I know they wanted the QTE segment, but it's like it's so funny to like see Clive stand up fighting for his life, and like his boys are just standing there like, "What's up, man? I guess we'll help now." Bit of a side tangent here, but it's something I've complained about with like The Last of Us when I reviewed that game some years back. But like in the moment where Joel gets impaled, he's fighting with this guy against this railing for like 12 seconds. But Ellie's like right there near him, but doesn't ever interfere, despite like up to this point in the game, like she's been fighting alongside you and stabbing and killing other people too. Like there's no reason Ellie wouldn't intervene in that moment. So it's something when I look at that scene from 16, it's like, why wouldn't Torgal attack that guy while he's got Clive pinned on the ground? It's just weird. We then get a pretty lengthy segment of some more combat, and again, there's new enemies and bosses and things showing off here, and it's cool, it's exciting, but it's not necessarily what we want. There's one thing from all this fighting that I thought was kind of interesting, and it's during the icon versus icon segment that they show off. We see Phoenix fighting Bahamut, which I found to be particularly interesting, because we've obviously seen Phoenix fighting Ifrit, but that could theoretically be at the beginning of the game whenever Joshua goes crazy, turns into Phoenix. We know that Ifrit's there, that maybe like that's when the Phoenix Ifrit stuff's happening. That's when you control Phoenix to fight Ifrit as Joshua potentially. But now that we're seeing Phoenix fighting Bahamut, does that confirm that Clive can also turn into Phoenix? Because like the background looks the same as like the Bahamut Ifrit fight from like the PAX East clip that we got. Which is something I was thinking anyways. I was kind of curious about that, because if Joshua dies, which we know does happen, like who would be Phoenix's dominant? Would that then move on to Clive because Clive was Joshua's brother? And then besides the outro itself with Yoshida, like that's pretty much the video. It's just more icon fighting. You get a better look at like Titan Lost, which that fight looks crazy. I wish they would show less of it. God damn it, quit spoiling it. And then with the outro from Yoshida, they do announce the theme song for Final Fantasy XVI.
Also, I'm truly excited to finally be able to reveal that Final Fantasy XVI's main theme was written and performed by one of Japan's greatest recording artists, Kenshi Yonezu.
And actually also during Yoshida's outro, they do say that they want to show more in the future. They want to show off more battle content, because of course they do. But also like side content and end-game content. I don't exactly know what they mean by end-game content, but like, don't be spoiling too much of the end-game or like post-game content or whatever the fuck. Like, save some surprises. But also, yeah, I'm interested in more side content, because it's like the only thing I want to see now. Like, And that is pretty much the video, my dudes. It ended up being a little bit longer than I was planning on it being. There was things to, of course, talk about a breakdown, but it just wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. And I don't even know if this is supposed to be the event with like the RPG elements we were promised from PAX East, but I don't know. Like some people were still want to like to see Clive walk up to and talk to like an NPC, and we got that with like the side quest stuff, right? But can you just walk up to like anybody and talk, or there's at least select like random NPCs that you can walk up to and have dialogue with? Or are we only talking to like side quest givers, main quest characters, and like shop people? Like that's something people have been asking for. As we talked about with like a recent video, I don't even know what I'm expecting from like RPG elements of 16 because I just don't know what it's going to offer for RPG elements, right? But I want to see something. That's it. I don't want to keep complaining because there's too much combat, but that's just like every trailer and everything that we get for this game is just more and more fighting, and it's like that's cool, that's great, and I know it's a big part of the game, but are we doing anything else besides fighting? What do I want to know? In terms of like the live stream stuff we talked about earlier in the video, if I can't like resolve whatever the issue is, we can always try to live stream directly from like the consoles, because I know you can do that obviously with modern consoles. You've been able to do that for a while. And I can try to stream directly from like the PS5 since that obviously has great connection to my internet, unlike this goddamn computer. And ultimately, if we can't ever get the live stream stuff going, which would really suck because I really wanted to get into doing that at some point, we'll do like some Let's Plays or something. We'll get something going with like Final Fantasy XVI and also 7 Rebirth because I want to step into something new. Because we've been doing the same kind of like commentary over gameplay and stuff like that for like ever, and I just want to do something kind of fresh with the channel at some point. Anyways, that is the video. Subscribe to if you guys are new. Social networks in the description below. Follow me on Twitter, @YT. That's it. Bye.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Logain or leave it like Cobain.